Hi, good evening or good morning to all of you, and thank you for joining us for our third Esploro Analytics webinar session. Today we will cover using analytics objects list to create, edit, share objects such as widgets, scheduled reports, etc. And I'm Nama, I'm product manager in Esploro, responsible for the analytics interface. And today's session will be held, of course, by Yoel Kortik, Exlibra's senior librarian, who will hold a session and knows everything about these features. So please know that you're on mute. So this is to enable us to record the session without any problems. If you have any questions, you can use the Q&A box or the chat box at any time, and we will review and answer from time to time. This session is intended for analytics designers and analytics administrators. And of course, once the session is over, we will upload the recording to this page that you can see, which holds all the information about the Esploro Analytics webinar. And I will post this in the chat now. So I will pass it on to Yoel now.
Okay, we are recording, Nama?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for the introduction and thank you for the opportunity. I will begin sharing my screen. Okay, so as Nama stated, we're discussing today the analytics objects. Before we begin, a brief introduction about the analytics objects. They are ways to take the data visualization workbooks which we've created and the analytics analyses that we've created and make them available to the consumers. We had stated in our first session that we have analytics designers and analytics consumers. The designers are those who create the data visualization workbooks or the analytics analyses. They can create, edit, delete, etc. And the consumers are the ones who view or use or consume the analyses and or workbooks. We had also stated in our first session that there are two sets of roles. In order to be able to click analytics, as I'm doing right now from the left pane, and see this analytics objects list, I need to be a user who has either Esploro Administrator or Esploro Analytics Administrator. For example, if I now go look at the user that I'm looking at right now, I'll click the icon on the top here and say user details. And if we come down here, we will see that I am Esploro Analytics Administrator. I'm also General System Administrator. And because I have at least one of these roles, I can view the analytics objects. Not only view, but also edit, create, delete, etc. Manage in general. The Esploro Designs Analytics is the one who can do the access analytics, access data visualization. I'm about to show how it would appear only to the consumer if I look at another user like me, but with my middle name, and we look at the roles of this user, we see that he does not have the General System Administrator or the Esploro Administrator or the Esploro Designs Analytics. Therefore, if we log in as that user, which we'll do right now, I will not have the Manage Analytics Objects options, nor will I have the options to log into analytics. I have Shared with Me, which we'll be talking about later today, and an option to view the out-of-the-box analytics. However, again, because I do not have General System Administrator or Esploro Administrator, I cannot, Esploro Analytics Administrator, I cannot manage the analytics objects. So let's go back in as that first user who can edit and manage the analytics objects. And let's start discussing the analytics objects. And then we will create some analytics objects using the visualization workbooks and the analytics reports that we had created in our previous session. So let's access first the analytics objects list. And before we create a new analytics object, Let's take a look at this top row, which allows for different types of searching. For example, we can search all of the analytics objects by either the name or the location. For example, if I want every analytics objects that includes 2023-06-28, which are objects we created in a previous time, and I say search, I get all of those that have the 2023-06-28 in there. If I were to say map, then I get all of those which have somewhere in the name the word map. We can also search by location. The location is the folder where the analytics reports or the data visualization workbooks are located. For example, if I say location and I say objects session, I get all of those that are in a folder, object session, as we see here, here, and here. So that's a way to search one by one or for multiple analytics objects by part of a name or part of a location. I'm going to remove that by clicking this X here. Then we have various sort options. For example, sorting by the object creation date, the location. So if we sort by location, we'll have all of those which are in the same folder, one after the other. The creation date, the creator, the person who created it, and the modification date. For example, I'll say object creation date, and then we can say whether we want them descending or ascending. For example, we see one from today on top, created on 7/11, July 11th. Another one created July 10th, July 9th, June 28th. So they're descending now. And I could click here, and then they will be ascending, and then we'll start seeing the oldest ones first, starting 2021 even, and coming down to 2023. I'm going to put this back to descending. Usually, I like to see the most recent ones on top. Then we can filter it by type. For example, dashboards, which we'll be talking about shortly, data visualization workbooks, or report. So if I say report, it's going to be only ones from analytics, not from data visualization. And you can see here what we see in the list is a description here of the type, and you can see they're all type report. And if we had come and said we want only data visualization workbooks, then we could say type data visualization workbook. We can use multiple filters on top here. For example, we can come from origin. Origin will be OTB, meaning it's an out-of-the-box already supplied with Esploro, or that it's created by the institution. Then there's badges. Badges are additional filters which are automatically added, and they appear here also in different colors. I'm going to remove this filter, and I'm going to remove this filter just so we have more options now so we can see more badges. So I'll say all here. Now, right now, it's filtering by badges all. So we see here pinned object, scheduled report, added as widget, subscribed, and then I can come here and get only those, for example, that I'm subscribed to, which is one. Or I can say all of those which are scheduled reports, meaning they're being sent out on a regular basis by email, or all of those which are widgets, etc. We can also filter by the subject area, and that would be the subject area that the report is made from. For example, if we say here, Esploro research assets, all of these results will be created in the Esploro research assets, and we can see that here as well, where it says subject areas, Esploro research assets. Now, before we start looking at these analytics objects, which we can look at them simply by double clicking and then it opens, let's create analytics objects. And then that'll already be an introduction to how we manage them. So first we're going to look at an analytics object as we create it. And then we're going to look at it as it's already created and we want to manage it. So to create a new analytics object, we click Actions on the top here, and then Add New Esploro Analytics Object. This Actions, by the way, sorry about that. I double-clicked instead of single-clicked. If we select a object, one or more, under Actions, we can remove. So there is another option under the Actions, but we're going to be doing the Add Esploro Analytics Object. So let me just unclick that and we'll say Actions, Add New Esploro Analytics Object. So first we need to decide where are we going to be taking the analytics object from. Now, it's recommended that all of the analytics objects that you will use, you put in one specific folder. And I'll explain why it's recommended to do that when we go back and create them. So I've created from previous times a folder called Reports Ex Libris. And you can see here, excuse me, on the top that I'm under name of the institution, Reports Ex Libris. And then for today's session, I created a subfolder in there called Objects Session. And right now I have 3 things in there. 2 of them are data visualization, the first and the last. We can see that by the icon. And the middle one is an analytics analysis. Now, why is it recommended to put them all in 1 or 2 or one folder with subfolders? For 2 reasons. Number one, someone else who has the role designs analytics will know not to come in here and remove a report or change a report, because that will affect anybody who is using this analytics object, or they should at least go consult someone else. So everything is focused together. So that's one reason to have a dedicated folder for everything that you're making an analytics object for. The other reason is because once we create the analytics object here, we need to choose the folder. And rather than needing to scroll all the way through, I can just write now part of that folder name and I receive it. So I'm receiving now the main folder and then the subfolder that I made for this session. So those are the 2 reasons why it's recommended to make one folder where all of the analytics reports and data visualization workbooks that will be used are all together. So let's choose now the Ex Libris Objects session one here. Then we would choose the report name. So we saw that I have 3 entities in that folder. And let's choose, for example, the number of research assets created per year bar graph. The display name by default is the same as the report name. I'm going to change the display name now to today's date, so we know that this is the one we've created today. So I'll call this 2023-07-11, number of research assets created. So we've changed the report name. Now I'm going to click Save, and we have our new analytics object. It's already created. We're going to start editing it now and showing the different parts of it, but it's already created. If I were to close this, for example, I'm going to click the X here, and I'm back in the list. Because we did our default sort by object creation date descending, it's right here on top. In order to edit this, there's 2 options, and we're going to edit it now. I can either double click, and then it opens up, and I can start going through and editing, as we're going to do in a moment, Or go back to the list. Here on the top right, I'm going to enable the split screen. And now I can have open on the left the list, and on the right, I can start editing right here. So rather than having it in full screen from the list view, I'm on split screen and I can scroll through here. Those of you who have been in other sessions on our new interface, we'll call it next generation interface, we'll see that this is very similar to, for example, the purchase order line task list, the resource sharing task list. Soon you'll see manage sets is using the same. So this is familiar already to those who are using other parts of products on the Ex Libris higher education platform. So
And
let's go through here. Excuse me?
For Esploro, I can say that it's similar to research, projects and activities. We have the similar interface.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's start going through here. First of all, we see that automatically it gave us type data visualization workbook. And there's one part of this screen that's different for data visualization workbooks than it is for analytics analyses, and we will point that out soon. So right now we're in the summary section. You can see there's 4 sections here. I can go through the sections by either clicking them here in the left pane or simply by scrolling through. Let's look at this in full view now. So I'll just click here to collapse that left pane. So I'm going to edit this section here. This is the summary. So I'm going to edit it with the pencil. So this is what we filled in when we created it, the analytics folder, the report name, and the display name. I'm going to add a description here just so later we'll be able to see this. And I'll say this is a DV workbook created during our session on 7/11. That's enough. Just so we have something that's a description that we can see later. That's enough. We'll click save. Now share. Now we want to say who is allowed to use this. And there's 2 ways to do it. We can either add users hard-coded, and not either. We can do both of them. They're not mutually exclusive. So I'll click share just so we can see that this moves around to the different parts. So I could click add users and then type a user and say, I want this person and this person and this person to be able to access it. That's one option, but I'm not going to do that. Or we can say add roles, and then any user who has at least one of the roles that we will add here will be able to consume this data visualization workbook. So I'll say roles, and I'll just start typing research, and I'll say any of these roles. I'll select them all. And this means that any user who has at least one of these roles will be able to view it, consume it. Then we have an option to make this a scheduled report. I'll say it's a scheduled report. I'm going to remove this, but I'm just going to show right now how to make it a scheduled report. And then there's a default recurrence pattern. And then I can click that recurrence pattern and change it and say, for example, I want this monthly, every 2 months, every 1 month, or I can say I want it every, even hourly, every week, or every 2 weeks, every 1 week at 9 o'clock on Tuesday, for example, or Monday and Tuesday even. So there's a lot of options there for the scheduling, but let's not make this a scheduled report. We're going to make this a dashboard, and we're going to see what that is in a minute. By the way, in the next release, this is going to be called Add as a Homepage Dashboard. We're making a change here, and you'll see why in a moment. I'm going to select Add as Dashboard. This only exists for DV workbooks. The scheduled report, by the way, when a scheduled report arrives, this is an example of a scheduled report that arrives. We're going to look at this one later, and you can see I have an attachment here with the analytics report. In the case of a DV workbook, the scheduled report will arrive as a link. So those are two differences between the object for data visualization workbooks and analytics reports. A data visualization workbook can be added as a homepage dashboard, and when it's a scheduled report, it arrives as a link. And I am clicking here at his dashboard, and we also have a preview to the data visualization report workbook here. Also, up here, we have a report URL. Let's talk about that for a moment. I'm going to click it here. This report URL, I clicked it to copy it, is a hard-coded link to either the data visualization workbook or the analytics analysis. And it will work only if a user is logged into Esploro and puts in the URL, which I just did there, and the user has at least one of the roles which are defined in the analytics object. So it's very safe. You won't be able to see this if you're not logged in or if you don't have one of those roles. For example, if I were to go into Chrome right now, and I'm not logged into Explorer right now, and I were to try to use that same URL, it's going to ask me to log in. And then if I log in and I don't have one of those roles, I won't be able to see it. So that's another way to be able to view the data visualization workbook. So this is saved. Let's make another one just to see a slight difference. And let me just move this out of the way. Sorry about that. Okay, so we've created one data visualization workbook, one object using a data visualization workbook. I'm going to create another one, this time a little bit more quickly. We're going to say actions, add new Esploro Analytics object. We're going to choose that same folder. And this time I'm going to say research asset usage by country and time. And here I'll also say it's 2023-07-11. And we will also, here in the summary, give it a description. Notice here, instead of clicking the pencil, I merely clicked on it. The pencil is more of an indication that this can be edited. I can click directly on it with the pop-up or anywhere in that section. And I'm just going to get a description here, created during the 7-11 session. Okay, we'll even spell it properly. Share. The one about non-library users, I will show that in a moment. Actually, not in a moment, but I will show making a I just saw a chat come in. There is a way to make a non-registered user in Alma and Esploro, an outside user. The internal users are these internal users are users who are in Alma. We could put them in here. There's also a way to have for users who are not registered in Alma. In any case, we'll go to the share now. So we could put in any user here, and we said this is not dependent on whatever role they have, as long as they have at least one role somewhere, because it's not patrons, as we call them in Alma. It has to be someone who is a user in Esploro. But there's also a way we'll see later for users who are not even registered. Then we're going to add the roles here. So I'll click Add Roles. Again, we'll give this for all of the research people. And we're good there. We're not going to make this a scheduled report. We're going to do that soon. Add as a dashboard, which we said soon is going to be add as a homepage dashboard. Okay, so we've added 2 of them, and they're both saved. Now, they're both appearing on top here. We can view from the analytics objects list. We can click view full report. That opens a new tab with the data. This is useful because while looking at the analytics object and deciding if we want to do something with it, we want to know, well, I want to see it. Or even because I also have the designs analytics role, I'm able to open this and I can also start changing it. I can change the filters. I can get rid of these fields. I can add other fields, start putting them in, etc. So I can access it. And if I'm also designs analytics, I can start viewing it. Now, let's talk about the consumers. On both of these analytics objects, I'm going to close these extra tabs. On both of these analytics objects, you will recall that we gave the roles here of all of these that have research something or other. So I'm going to go in now as that other user we saw, the other user who is me with my middle name. And we'll see that that user does have the roles of those research entities. Here, I've got all these research ones. And again, I don't have the designs analytics and I don't have the Esploro Analytics Administrator. So I'll sign out with who I am now. And I'll sign on as that other person who now is a consumer. And this person wants to view these data visualization workbooks. So there's 2 options right now for him or her to view it. One option, which is only applicable for data visualization workbooks, is to make that analytics object, which is the data visualization workbook, be my Alma homepage, my Esploro homepage. So I can take that object and make it appear on my page here when I log into Esploro or anytime I go back to this page. And we can do that here by clicking Analytics. And then here we've got my homepage. And if I say Esploro homepage, I only see now the ones which have roles that I have. And this is the one we just made now. We made both of these now. We made the research asset usage by country and time, and we also made number of research assets created per year bar graph. So I'm going to select this one. The first time it loads, it takes a moment or 2. And now this is my landing page. Anytime I log into Esploro, this is what I've got. And if I were to come and start doing something else, just go somewhere else and start doing something. And then I come back, I'm going to click the top icon on the left to get to my Esploro landing page, or call it my Esploro homepage. And it's always going to bring that data visualization workbook. So that's one way to consume a data visualization workbook, or let's say to consume an analytics object, which is a data visualization workbook. Another way is to add it here. These are pinned objects. And let me get rid of some of these. In fact, I'll get rid of all of them so we don't have any confusion. These are ones I've already done in the past. So right now I have none. So the way these get added by a consumer to his or her pinned objects, which used to be called the favorites, and it kind of is a favorite, is to come to the shared with me. This shared with me is like, in a sense, like the analytics objects list. You can see it's got the same facets on the top, but it doesn't have something here to create a new one. And the only option I have here is pin to analytics menu. So this one here, research asset usage by country and time, I can click this to open it. And I got a preview here. You can see I can't do anything else, though. I can't decide who can view this. I can't edit the summary section, etc. But I can either from here, pin to analytics menu, or from here, pin to analytics menu. And now it appears in analytics here. So now I can access that right from here. And that will open up. So right now we have created a analytics object from a data visualization workbook. We defined which users via their roles will be able to view this. Then we defined as a consumer whether I want this on my pinned objects list, so I can just click it and open it, or if I want that as my homepage. So that's a workbook for an analytics object, for a data visualization workbook. Let's take the other one that we just made a moment ago. This one, I'm going to go back in as the designer so I can edit the report, and I'm also going to have the Esploro administrator so I can play with the analytics object. And we're going to define it as scheduled. So I'm going to sign out of here and sign back in as my user with the relevant roles for managing the objects list. And let's go now back to the analytics objects list. And we'll take the second one that we created. Okay, instead of making this a dashboard, even though they're not mutually exclusive, I can make this a dashboard and also a scheduled report. Now, anyone with a relevant role can subscribe to this, and we're going to see that soon. So now it's weekly, every day at 9, every Monday at 9. Under the managed subscription, I, as the Esploro administrator, can come and decide myself who will subscribe to this. I can hard-codedly subscribe someone to this. So if John Smith, my colleague, I think it would be useful for him to have this, I can come and put him in here and he will automatically be receiving this. But let's not do that. Another way I can do it is add here a mail of anyone, any person at the university.edu.au. So now this person is not in Esploro at all, add and close, but the scheduled report will be sent to that email. So back to that other question. Let me read the exact question. I saw it pop up briefly, but I'm going to just get it all. That's a very popular question.
The question was about roles. Which is the best role to just view different?
Is there basically a role with no permissions that we could give to non-library people? Then they could see a dashboard. Okay, so I see you already answered that, Nama, correct?
Because you answered it in a previous webinar, and I have the answer ready.
All right. So are we all set on that one, Wendy, or do you have any additional questions on that one? I'll just wait to see if you respond. It's clear. Okay, great. Okay, now let's pretend I'm going to get rid of this any person here just so we don't get error messages if this runs, that there is no any person at the university.edu.au. Okay, now if you recall, we gave here the roles of researcher. So now if I come in, I'm going to sign out of this person. You can see this is saved here. Sign out of this person. I'm going to go in now as that consumer, that person who does not have the administration roles, but does have all of the research roles. So I'm logging in. And I'm coming now to the shared with me. And now I can subscribe to these. So first of all, I see that that's a scheduled report. It's got the badge here. I could pin it to my analytics menu so that I'll be able to see it from here. Now I can just click on it and automatically see it. By the way, you can see here when I click on it the full name, because sometimes it's a little cut off because this is a long one. And here, here, if I click on this scheduled report, I'm a consumer. I can subscribe here. If I click here, now I'm subscribed, and I will get that every Monday at 9. We already stated if it's a data visualization workbook, then it will come as a link. And if it's an analytics report, then it will come as an attachment like this. And now that's the lead-in for creating an analytics object with an for creating an analytics object using an analytics analysis instead of a data visualization workbook. So this, for example, the reason I got this is because if we come into the analytics objects list, I'm going to log back in as my other user. And let's take a look at this one. So we already saw that I can search the analytics objects list by the name. So here I am, name, and I'll search for that. Okay, so what do we have here? It's defined as a scheduled report, and it's defined as an attachment, a PDF attachment. I'm going to click here. This option I didn't have for the data visualization workbook because in the data visualization, it's always a link. Here it can be either. So this got sent every Tuesday at 9 o'clock. And there's a job that gets created for the sending of the scheduled reports. If, for example, I come to admin and monitor jobs, and I go to history, and let's get a submit date range of the last month, and I say that. Okay, so we can see here that every Tuesday or every Monday, I don't remember the exact definition there, once a week, we can see that for sure. 6 and 7 is 13, 13 and 7 is 20, 20 and 7 is 27, etc. It sends it each time at 9 o'clock because it was scheduled every whatever at 9 o'clock. So there's a job that sends them out, and that's how it ends up getting sent. Let's now come back into the analytics, and let's take now an analytics analysis and create an analytics object on it. So this one here is analytics. It's number of research assets deposits by year. I'm going to click open on it. Now this is something small, which would be nice for a widget. A widget is something that appears on the Alma landing page instead of the data visualization workbook, and we can have multiples. In fact, let's make a quick one more. So this is number of research assets deposits by year. Maybe I'll even take this and I'll just make a brief change so we have 2 of them. So we'll be able to see how to use them a little better. So right now I've got number of deposits by year, and I'm going to say, instead of number of deposits, let's say we want number of assets with files. So I will just come here, edit formula, and say number of assets with files. Make sure we got something logical here. Okay, and I'll even make this one a pie instead. And I'll make it a little smaller. Okay. That's enough for our purposes. And we'll save as. So I'm going to save it in that same directory, which is reports ex libris object session. I'll call this number of assets with files by year. Okay. Now, we want to make these widgets so that when somebody is in Alma, they will be able to add them right here. So they'll appear on the landing page of the consumer. The consumer will add them himself. The administrator will create the object and define which roles of users will be able to add them. So let's say analytics objects list. And we'll say actions, add new Esploro Analytics object, folder. We're able to go right to that folder quickly because we have a dedicated folder with them all. When people put the ones about fulfillment and fulfillment, or the one about research assets in one place and in different folders altogether mixed with other things, it starts to get confusing. So I'm right in that folder. We called ours, one of them we said number of assets with files by year. And I'm going to make this a display name 2023-07-11. And I'll just leave it like that. Save. Now, let's put in here a widget made during the session. Okay. And we can see the description here when we're going through the list. We'll add the roles. Again, we'll give the research roles here. 1, 2. Okay. Check. And now we're going to say add as a widget. We didn't have the add as a widget option for the data visualization workbook. We've got it for the analytics reports. Now, not every analytics report is relevant to add as a widget. For example, if we have a large table, not really relevant for a widget, but theoretically, we could add it as a widget. So we're all set on this. Everything's saved. And let's do another one now. Actions, add a new one. And again, we'll choose that easy to find location. And now we'll take number of research assets created per year bar graph. That's the other one we saw. Display name, we'll put in the 0711. Save. Add roles. I'm going a little quicker now because we're getting to be experts already. Fill in these roles. Anyone with these roles will be able to add it. We're not making it a scheduled report. We're making it a dashboard. Oh, not a dashboard. Sorry. Oh, that's the data visualization workbook. Sorry about that. Let's come up here. I chose the wrong one. Sorry about that, but we can change it right here. That's going to be number of research asset deposits by year. That's the one we want. Okay, and now it says type report. Excuse me, I chose the data visualization workbook by accident. 2023-07-11, and everything else is the same. Okay. Let's save. So now we have add as a widget. And everything's good. That's actually good that I chose by accident the data visualization workbook. We see it says add as a widget. The option in the report preview section is add as a widget when it's an analytics analysis. When it's a data visualization workbook, it's add as homepage. So everything is saved here. Let's go back to our list. I'll close this. And so we see both of these, they already have the badge added automatically add as widget, that badge which we can then filter here. And now I can come in here as the administrator and just click view full report and it comes right out. I could also come in here and get the report URL and paste it right in, and it will also bring it. And I could also, on the bottom here in the report preview, see what it looks like. Now we want to be a consumer who wants to add this to his or her landing page. So let's come out of here, log out of this guy, and now we're going to be that consumer, the person who doesn't have the roles of analytics administrator or Esploro administrator. So we're logging in. Okay, first of all, if I want to use widgets, I can't simultaneously use this data visualization workbook as my homepage. So I'm going to change my default homepage to no longer be the data visualization workbook. You'll see when we remove this as our default page, we're going to have a little plus on top here, and that little plus will be for adding widgets. So first of all, let's say analytics. Here's my homepage. It's to this research asset usage by country and time that we chose before. And instead, I'm just going to choose Esploro homepage. And now I've got these, which I already added last time. I'm going to get rid of these so we have something brand new. Remove, remove, and remove, because now we want to add them brand new. So now we have that plus here that we talked about a moment ago. And these here are ones we made today. This is where the description appears. When I put it in, I said later we'll see where does the description appear. Here's the other one. I am a description. So the description appears here. I didn't put in a description for this one. Now, if I want to add one or more of these to my Esploro landing page, my Esploro homepage, I can select them and then just close this. And now both of these are added as on my homepage. I can move these around however I'd like. And now every time I log in or every time I do something else, let's just do anything else, and then I come back to my landing page, they automatically appear. So that's ways to be able to take an analytics report and have a person automatically see it when they log in to Esploro, automatically. I'm going to remove these. And another way is we can add those to the pinned objects. Just because they're widgets or scheduled reports or anything else doesn't mean that I can't also have it as a pinned object. So if I come to the shared with me, we had already said that the shared with me shows all of the analytics objects which I have access to based on the role. And I'm going to take these two new ones that we just made now and say pin to analytics menu here and here. Now I will see them here at analytics, and now I can click here and automatically add them. So in sum, we saw we can take a data visualization workbook and be able to send that to a user on a regular basis via a link, or we can provide a link from within which we get from the analytics object, or we can make it the Esploro landing page. For analytics reports, we can have that be sent to a user automatically like this, either as an attachment or as a link, or we can take the report and make it be a widget, which will automatically appear on the landing page of the user, or it can be in the pinned section here so that he or she can automatically click it and access it. So now let's see if there's any questions. Nama, any questions came in?
Nope, I don't see any new questions.
So let's go back now to the analytics objects list. And now that we have already added them, I said at the beginning that before I wanted to get into a deep dive, it's 6:52 already. Wow. Before I wanted to get into the deep dive of the analytics objects list, first I wanted to create them so we'd have some more context. But now we do have a lot of context. So let's go to that analytics objects list. And let's see what we got here. So we already saw that we can go back and forth between the split view and the not split view. I'm going to disable the split view. We already saw that we can create certain ones and delete them either one at a time. I can go remove objects from list, or I can select multiples and say actions remove. Now this just removes the analytics object. It does not delete the report in Alma, excuse me, in analytics. So the workbook or the analytics analysis will still exist, but the object will no longer be there. We also have, notice here, we have a certain default view here. For example, we have the name of the report, the type, which is whether it's a report, which is analytics here, or a data visualization workbook. Then we have the subject areas that it uses, the analytics folder, who it's created by, who it's modified. We have this column here with the badge. All of this can also be customized. So we have, for example, here, this third icon from the right called Customize. And for example, when I open this, you'll note I've got these sections: summary, share, schedule, and report preview. If I come along now, it's summary. I'm even going to take a picture here just so we can compare later. Okay, the order as I scroll through them is that: the summary, share, schedule, report, preview. And here I can come into the configurations and there's sections customization. I can say I want the report preview to appear on top. Apply. Now you see I've got report preview on top. So now when someone opens a workbook, I got report preview on top. That was actually a very easy way for us, Ex Libris, to be able to make this page with everybody being happy, because we didn't have to compromise. Oh, some people say we should have report preview on top. Some say, no, I want to have the summary on top. You can do whatever you want. And you can even hide some of them. If for whatever reason someone doesn't want the schedule section, then under the selections, you can just drag it. And now, for example, I won't even have the summary. Now when someone comes in, they don't have the summary at all. And then you can put it back to whoever you'd like. I'm going to go back to the sections customization. And now I got reset to default. I could just drag this back up and I could just put it back in whatever order I wanted, but I'll say reset to default, and it's reset to default. So that's once you're already in the object and want to change the configurations. But also what we see here can also be changed. For example, I'm going to click that again. So there's the records customization. So we've got on top here the display name, the type, the subject areas. Maybe I want the display name, the subject areas to be before the type. The display name will always be on top. So now I'll say apply. Now the subject areas is on top, the type is on the bottom. Here I might want the analytics folder on the bottom. The most important thing I want to see is who it's created by. Note, I already see here when I click on this cog wheel, it's called records customization customized. I click that, and now I can say, okay, I want whoever it's modified by here. And maybe I don't even want that third column. I'm going to get rid of that third column, apply. And here we go. Now, from a product management point of view, this is very interesting because on the one hand, we worked more to make it customizable. On the other hand, it saved us from getting groups of people want it one way, groups of people want another way. Everybody do what you want. Which has other implications, which we won't even get into at this stage. But in any case, so now we have the object created by on the top, and I don't have that third column with the badges. So I'm going to come back into the customizations here, and I see now that that's the one I've customized, the records customization. So I'll click that, and I will bottom here, restore to default, and now I've got everything back to default. Same thing with what can we do here? I can view the full report, remove or pin. Again, view the full report, remove or pin. We can click that customize here. And in the actions customization, I can say, I want the view full report to be the last one. And I want to remove this remove one altogether. So now no one can remove, apply. So now we got pin and view full report only. The other one was unpin. Unpin is relevant only if I pin it. So for example, if I pin that to my thing, now I have unpin and view full report. Let's just put that back to the way it was. And that brings us to 6:59. So I'm not going to start anything new at this stage, but let's just go take a look if there's anything there in the chat. And I'm in the chat. Okay, and I don't see anything there. Okay, any final additions you want to add, Nama?
No, seems like it's very clear. So there weren't any further questions, but of course, at any point, if you recall something, questions come up, you can always reach out and
Great.
contact me or
Okay, so
Yoel.
thanks again, Nama, for the opportunity. Thanks for the invitation, and thanks everybody for joining. Have a
Thank you
nice
for
day.
joining, and we want to also thank the University of Miami for allowing us to use their environment. And we're looking forward to see you in our next session. I just posted the registration link for our final session for this webinar series. It's going to be on August 1st and 2nd. And you can register through the link that I posted at the beginning of the chat. And thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next time. Bye.